Okay, this is part two of the series, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you haven't seen the first part, I asked you to go back and look at the first part. It's kind of important leading in this, but they can stand alone somewhat. Um, this is where we find out, where we just have found out that each one of these gods that they have, known as the El Eloha of Israel, which is El, the God of Israel, that is split up between different cities. And El Roi, the God of Seeing, is from Bir Lahai. El Shaddai is from Bethel. El Elam is from Beersheba. And El Elyon, the Most High, is from Jerusalem. Of course, El Elyon, the Most High, is actually Saturn. It's the most high star that's visible, the farthest away star. And the Babylonians knew this way back when. So this is how they've delegated out the stars to be, or the planets to be for the people. It says it's worthy of note that archaeological findings indicate that these El sanctuaries were already in existence before Abraham entered Canaan, and way before. So people look at this like he came over there and he started a religion. Well, no, people listen. In other words, Abraham was not the founder of El worship. In fact, it would appear that El worship was the original religion of Canaan, going back to Shem, the birthright son of Noah and the father of the Semitic race. Not only so, but evidence would indicate that Canaan, the son of Ham, that cursed son of Noah, passed the same religion down to his descendants, just as the prophet Joseph Smith told us in the book of Abraham of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons. For El worship was prevalent even among the Canaanites. And don't act like that's a surprise. Abraham went into a land that already had a religion and he joined into part of it. So it's not that big of a deal. Although people have always taught that whenever he shows up with the new doctrine of Christ. When he shows up over there, he actually gets into their religion. That's what he does. Pardon me for a moment. That time of year, I'm starting to get a little bit of a run. But can't wait for the snow. Anyhow, it's also significant that many of the El sanctuaries were still standing and in use when the children of Israel entered Canaan under Joshua, and even though they were commanded to utterly destroy the altars, images, trees, and sanctuaries of the other gods in Canaan, yet an injunction was placed upon them that they were not to violate the sanctuaries of El. Wonder why. At the same time, it was significant that they were commanded to worship elsewhere. So they couldn't worship at these temples. They had to have their own little one. They were kicked out of the whole little patriarch thing, by the way, which would indicate that the patriarchal sanctuaries had been desecrated before the children of Israel entered Canaan. The Lord commanded them, saying, let's see. On this point is significant in accordance with the revelation given to the prophet Joseph Smith, Moses 6:17. The promised land of Canaan was originally settled by Enos and his son Canaan, after whom the land was named. The same Enos is the grandson of Adam and birthright heir of Seth and possessor of the priesthood, and is therefore not at all unlikely that the altars of El, which Abraham found in Canaan at the time of his migration, had their origins with the patriarchs who had preceded them. So, in other words, but that's one way of looking at it. Now, the real way of looking at it is that he showed up and there was already something going on, definitely. And here it also tells you that the promised land of Canaan was originally settled by Enosh. Well, the Enoch or Erech city is not these cities at all that they're talking about. They say that, Enoch had made Erech. Well, that's over in Sumeria and not even these. So, not even attached to these really, unless you go off and around, which is kind of odd. But it seems like they're totally going to the wrong place, doesn't it? Well, after Jacob sees the real nice place there and gets jealous of it and wants it for himself, which the stairway to heaven would have been one of the ziggurats, and he goes, clearly I found God here, and da-da-da, and that he will worship God if God will let him go through here without being eaten, by these people or whatever, and that he would call him his God, which is another odd statement because his father didn't teach him anything, didn't introduce him to this God, because he acted like he just found him. It's kind of an odd statement there, actually, if you look at it. People don't try to look at that at all. What's he mean here when all of a sudden he finds God? Didn't his daddy tell him, or Abraham, any of these people? It's kind of odd, isn't it? So, they tell you, these are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which Yahweh Elohim thy fathers giveth thee. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations where ye shall possess serve their gods. Upon the high mountains, upon the hills, under every green tree, and ye shall overthrow their altars, break their pillars, burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of that place. So what this is knock down their stuff and take off the names, and then y'all take it over because you're a nomadic tent people and living in tents, and you don't have anything. So this is God telling them to cause genocide to steal a place, which, people go, yay, and it's like, no, if God was all-powerful, he would just make them a place, people. If he was omnipotent, he'd just make them a place. He wouldn't be like, I got to direct y'all to go kill all these people and stuff. This is edicts by people and by man. But let's look more in this. Interesting, after delivering this devastating edict, the Lord places a strange injunction upon them. Ye shall not do unto Yahweh your Elohim, but unto the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose, to put his name here, even unto his habitation ye shall seek, and thither ye shall bring your burnt offerings. Certainly, the Lord is not here making reference to sanctuaries which were not in existence. It would be pointless for Yahweh to command Israel not to destroy his altars and sacred places if they didn't exist yet. So here's another proof that they're actually just taking these altars and knocking the sign off of the place and taking it over for themselves and trying to call it something different. His altars and sacred places, if none existed. The one obvious deduction is that reference here is being made of the sanctuaries of El, which existed in Canaan at the time of the patriarchs. So, some might argue that it's Yahweh Elohim that's doing this, but sure, okay, whoever's doing this, they're doing it to these Canaanite sites. And they may be going to take them over because they don't know how to do stonework. They're really tent people. So the whole reason they're doing this is that they want to steal a whole town. You can imagine if you were living as tent people and you found a people that had a whole town and you were going to try to find a way to steal that whole town. This is basically how this goes down, isn't it? And that's kind of terrible and disgusting to look at it a different way. That everybody looks at the Bible and says, oh, it's just so holy. Look how he's killing them all off the place. And it's like, no, that's not holy at all. That's not holy at all. If it was holy, he would make them a place. In fact, people out there in the desert where they were at, not in somebody else's land, but out there in the desert, which is pretty much loose. If God was the real omnipotent guy, he would make the beautiful oasis of Eden right there again and go, now, the land that nobody wanted, the cornerstone people threw away, boom, it's for my people. But that's not what he did. He took the cornerstone of another people, made them cause genocide to him and steal it. Well, that's not very holy. I mean, if you did it right now in Rwanda or anything, would you consider that to be holy? Would you consider it holy if we went and killed off people and stole land? If we said we were doing it in the name of God, would you still consider it to be holy that we were stealing people's land? If right now the Muslims were to take over Israel and take over that land, would you consider that to be holy on their side? Our side? No, it's not very holy. It's not very holy at all. So we're going to break it right here again. And we'll go to part 3 on this. I want these to be smaller pieces so people can watch them at their leisure and in small amounts rather than having to break it up by watching one video. Anyhow, you can pause it right here and read this part that's right here if you want. And I'll begin part 3 here shortly. Enjoy.